Who's steering?
No one, both.
Just gonna give you an update on the boat, let you see what we've done so far. Here she is, looking quite open, to say the least. I don't know if I can give a really wide angle view. There she is. I'm not sure it does it justice, but everything is now out in the so that's where the kitchen was. And looking at it the other way, here's the, oh, sorry, make it a bit more steady. So yeah, there's the boat now. Plenty of space on board her. Okay, it is July 2021. We've got the boat round to the inner harbour at Brighton Marina, and we've started to rip her out. As hopefully you've seen with the time lapse, the front half of the boat, the fore aft of the boat has now been stripped out. I'm not sure the camera does it justice really, in terms of the amount of space that's available here. We've got the bulkhead here, the front bulkhead, which is the anchor locker beyond. That's obviously staying. We're going to make that watertight again. Really pleased with the state of the walls. The hull itself on the inner side, there is some rust. Let me switch this camera around. Can't do that while it's recording. There is some rust on the inside, predominantly where work's been done, and also where old sea cups have been sealed up. But all in all, I'm really pleased with it. Ripping out the old insulation is proving a nightmare. It's very, very messy, but we're getting there. There is some remedial work to do on the steel, just to make sure that when we cover her up again, she'll be completely and utterly sound. I don't want to be doing this again. Also, not going to replace the insulation with this fiberglass type insulation. I'm looking at foil, super thin foil insulation, which is much more efficient, much more has a much more thinner footprint so that we can hopefully get better insulation in a smaller cavity. Excuse me. The dust from this insulation as well is an absolute nightmare. The other really interesting thing as well is that the ceiling, the headlining, has this batten sequence on it, which is actually adding about an inch or so to the head height, reducing the head height by about an inch. So I'm hoping to remove this second batten here. Oh, let me get the right one. Here. This second batten I'm going to come off and just leave the first batten. And then on the interval slats, the ones in between, there's only one batten. That's because it's not actually designed to be headlining. So what we'll end up with is we'll have timber on this one, then it'll be straight metal with maybe either Velcro or glue, and then timber on this one. So we'll span this space, which is about maybe three feet. Yeah, something like that. Maybe not even that. Sorry, excuse me, the dust again. What that'll do is it'll give us about ½ an inch head height extra, maybe a little bit more. And because we're going to be putting back headlining that's in sheets, hopefully that should mean that we can fix down the sides of the sheets and only have a fixing like Velcro or something in between. That's the plan at the moment. Obviously, these things change almost weekly as I make a new plan and such like. But the bonus is, and I don't know if the light's going to cause it an issue, but if we take this timber off, which is the plan, so that we'll fix straight to the metalwork here, then what you end up with is, I'll try and cut out the light, what you end up with is the ceiling will be actually at the dead height of the surround for the hatches. So we'll actually be able to hopefully rig up some way that they'll be much more flush. We won't have to have the wooden surrounds on them, whilst giving ourselves extra head height. Yeah, so that's it so far. The floor is to come up next. I've got a fair bit more to do on the walls yet, but the flooring's looking okay. The bilges and such like aren't looking too bad, but we've got more work to do on the sidewalls yet before we can get to the floor. I'm thinking that the best plan of action will be we will clear everything out so that all of the metalwork's ready to work on, the headlining, the roof, the sidewalls and the floor, and we'll treat it all at the same time. We'll get it prepped, get it lined, get it all treated before we start to put anything back in this front half. Obviously we've still got the chain locker wall and the bulkhead wall at the midsections yet to rip off, and all of the electrics to bring out. They weren't exactly in securely, but yeah, lots more work to do. But it is only mid-July, so I feel like we're making good progress. Okay, progress so far. We've got all the headlinings out, all of the walls out, wall linings are out, the floor's coming up. The headlining and the walls have taken a bit of prep just to get rid of all the old screws, the old nails, that sort of thing. But she's coming on. We're going to take the headlining back a little bit, give us a little bit more headroom. And also, I don't know if you can see, oh you probably can't, but the floor currently is on about 3-inch timbers that are bolted to the steelwork. So we're probably losing about 3 inches worth of head height. She currently maxes out about 6 foot, 6'1" head height. So I figure if we can take it down a couple of inches, it would increase the head height significantly. So make it more comfortable for taller people when they're on board. I don't think we'll lose much floor space, because as you lower the floor, obviously the sides come in, so the actual amount of flat space is reduced. But because we're going to have the pilot berth on one side and the kitchen or the galley and the U-shaped saloon area on the other, I don't think we'll lose much at all in terms of flat floor space. So yeah, scraped off some of the walls where adhesive had been put on to hold the insulation in place. That's pretty much all off now. Just need to rub the walls down, treat a little bit of rust here and there, particularly on the deck. where the vents have come through. There's a little bit of rust there, some of the chain plate for the cleats as well. It just needs treating, but nothing much, and then we can get the metalwork painted and get the insulation back in. So the next big job really is getting the rest of the floor up. That's proving tricky. It's a laminate that's been glued to, this laminate effect has then been glued to plyboard, which is then, well, the plyboard was screwed down and then the laminate was stuck over the top, so you can't get to any of the screws. So it's proven very difficult to get out. So I think I'm going to cut it up into pieces and rip it out that way. I think that's going to be the easiest solution to do that. Then we can take these risers off, as I said, and we can see about lifting the floor, lowering the floor slightly, just to give a bit more headroom. If we can't, it's no big deal. 6 foot headroom is still not bad, but because of a beam and the size of the saloon, it would be quite nice just to get a little bit more head height. The walls and the ceiling, I think, are going to be epoxied 6mm plyboard. We'll epoxy it just to protect it against the weather, the elements a little bit. But being 6mm, it should bow sufficient to fit nicely, and it'll also reduce the weight down. Taken a tremendous amount of weight out so far. The bow currently is about 5 or 6 inches out of the water compared to what she was. That was even after we emptied her out of all the belongings. So just in terms of the physical infrastructure internally, tremendous amount, maybe even a ton or two of timber has been removed. So yeah, going well. Ultimately, I'm hoping that around about here will be the divider for the V-berth, and I'm not quite sure yet, but the original plan was to come back to here. I know that doesn't seem like much from that angle, but it's actually quite a difference. And then that starts to cut down in terms of the amount of space in the saloon. So still just undecided about that. I want to try and maximise the saloon space because that's where we're going to be most of the time. But the V-berth still needs to be a double cabin. And obviously we still want a shower and heads forward. So yeah, lots still to do, but we're getting there.